Think about the last time you felt truly alone. Not physically alone. You might have been in a crowded room, but that specific feeling where you looked around and realized that nobody there actually knew you. Not really. Nobody knew what you were carrying. Nobody would notice if you quietly got up and left and never came back. Most people assume that feeling is emotional, a mood, something that passes, something you push through. It is not a mood. It is not emotional, and it does not pass the way you think it does. In the last 20 years, scientists have discovered something that changes everything about how we understand that feeling. Loneliness is not a psychological state. It is a biological signal, and your body responds to it the same way it responds to being physically attacked. The question is why? Why would evolution wire the human body to treat social isolation like a knife wound? The answer goes back further than you expect, and once you understand it, you will never dismiss that feeling again. Let's start with the science, because it is more disturbing than most people know. In 2015, neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago published the culmination of over 2 decades of research on loneliness. What he found was not what anyone expected. Lonely people, he discovered, had measurably different immune systems than connected people. Not weaker in a general sense, different in a very specific and very revealing way. When Cacioppo measured the gene expression of lonely people versus socially connected people, he found that loneliness activated a specific cluster of genes related to inflammation. The same genes that fire when your body detects a physical threat, when you get cut, when you get infected, when something is trying to kill you. Lonely people's bodies were running a low-grade inflammatory response around the clock, not because they were sick, because their nervous system had classified their social situation as dangerous. But here is where it gets strange. At the same time that inflammation genes were switching on, a different set of genes was switching off. The genes responsible for antiviral defense, the branch of your immune system that fights viruses specifically. Lonely people were simultaneously more inflamed and less protected against infection. This made no sense at first. Why would the same signal that ramps up inflammation also reduce antiviral defenses? These two things seem to contradict each other, until you understand what environment this system was built for. Go back 150,000 years. You live in a group of roughly 50 to 150 people on the African savanna. You know everyone. They know you. That group is the only thing standing between you and death. If you are separated from your group, 2 specific threats become immediately more likely: physical attack from predators or from hostile humans, and bacterial infection from wounds you sustain alone with nobody to help you. Viruses are not your immediate problem when you are isolated. Viruses spread through close contact with other people. If you are alone, viral exposure actually drops. What rises is the risk of physical injury and the bacterial infections that follow. So your body, when it detects isolation, does exactly what it was designed to do. It ramps up inflammation to prepare for physical wounds. It ramps down antiviral defense because viruses are not the threat right now. It shifts into war mode, preparing for a fight that, in the modern world, never comes. Your immune system does not know that you are alone in a city apartment. It does not know that there are no predators. It only knows the signal, social disconnection, and it responds the way it has responded for 150,000 years. This is not a metaphor. Cacioppo's research, confirmed by subsequent studies at universities across 3 continents, showed that chronic loneliness increases the risk of early death by 26%, more than obesity, more than physical inactivity. In some studies comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, the body does not treat loneliness as a feeling. It treats it as an emergency. But the research does not stop there, because in 2020, neuroscientist Kay Tai at the Salk Institute published something that went even further. Her team isolated the exact location in the brain where loneliness is processed, a region called the dorsal raphe nucleus, a cluster of neurons that had never before been specifically linked to social pain. Here is what made her findings extraordinary. When her team artificially activated those neurons in mice using light, a technique called optogenetics, the mice immediately began seeking social contact, desperately, compulsively. The same way a hungry animal seeks food, or a thirsty animal seeks water. The dorsal raphe nucleus, it turned out, operates on the same basic circuit as hunger and thirst. Loneliness is not processed by the brain as an emotion. It is processed as a drive, a biological need. The same fundamental category as food and water. And just as hunger gets louder and more urgent the longer it goes unmet, loneliness does the same thing. The longer you go without genuine social connection, the stronger the signal gets. The louder the alarm. The more inflamed and defensive the body becomes. But here is what nobody talks about. Ty's research found something else inside those lonely mice, something that explains a pattern that millions of modern humans experience without understanding. When the mice were isolated for extended periods and then reunited with other mice, they did not immediately calm down. Their dorsal raphe nucleus remained activated even after social contact resumed. They were around others, but the alarm was still sounding. Extended isolation, the research suggested, can shift the nervous system into a state where the loneliness signal becomes harder to switch off. Not impossible, but harder. The body starts treating social connection itself with suspicion, like it has been fooled before, like the contact might not last. Psychologists have a name for the behavioral pattern this produces. They call it hypervigilance to social threat. Lonely people, after extended isolation, begin scanning every social interaction for signs of rejection. They interpret ambiguous signals as hostile. They pull back at exactly the moment connection is available, not because they do not want connection, because the alarm system is stuck in a pattern it cannot easily exit. You have probably felt this. After a long stretch of genuine loneliness, connection stops feeling natural. Other people start feeling like a performance, like you have forgotten the language and you are faking fluency. The harder you try, the more exhausted you feel, and you withdraw again, and the alarm gets louder. This is not a character flaw. This is a biological system doing exactly what it was built to do and finding no resolution, because the environment it was built for no longer exists. For 150,000 years, isolation was temporary. You left the group. You rejoined the group. The alarm fired. You responded. It stopped. The system reset. Modern life broke the reset mechanism. You can be surrounded by millions of people, and the alarm never stops. You can have hundreds of online connections, and every one of them feeds the signal without satisfying it, because the system was not built to count followers. It was built to detect the specific biological signatures of genuine proximity. Touch, eye contact, shared physical space over time, the things that told your nervous system across hundreds of thousands of years that you were safe. Research by Julianne Holt-Lundstad at Brigham Young University found that the quality of social connection matters more than quantity. Having one person who genuinely knows you provides more biological protection than having 50 acquaintances. Your nervous system can tell the difference. It has always been able to tell the difference. You just never needed to think about it before, because for most of human history, the people around you were the same people every day for your entire life. The loneliness epidemic is not a product of bad character or social weakness. It is a product of a biological system that evolved for a world where the people around you could not be replaced by a screen. A system that runs the same emergency protocols it has always run, but now runs them continuously, with no resolution, in the background of millions of ordinary lives. The next time you feel that specific hollow ache, the one that shows up in the middle of a crowd, or at night, or during a conversation that somehow leaves you feeling more alone than the silence before it, understand what is actually happening. Your body is not being dramatic. Your body is not weak. Your body is doing something it has done for 150,000 years. It is sending you a signal. The clearest, most urgent signal your nervous system knows how to send. It is telling you that you need something real. The question is whether the world we built still makes that possible.